Glad to have everyone with us. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, be led tonight by Blackman Principal Dr. Lisa Justice.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The number 4 on your agenda is the approval of agenda. Anybody want anything moved for Thursday night? Okay, moving on. Number 5, if we have any visitors, they will be with us on Thursday night. And that brings us to the Director of Schools contract, and turn to Mr. Reed. Good evening, Mr. Reed.
So the Director of Schools contract will be coming back before the board on Thursday to be approved. Mr. Spurlock has agreed to the terms of the contract that were proposed by the Board of Education. Those have been terms that he has agreed to. So if we have anything new or any changes to the contract or anything anyone wants to bring up, we can take it up on Thursday night. But with respect to the contract that was presented to the board last time, that was presented to Mr. Spurlock. He has agreed to those terms. So if it's acceptable to the board, it will be coming back before the board for final approval as to the contract Thursday night. If you approve the contract Thursday night, you will have a 3-year contract with Mr. Spurlock on the terms that we discussed in our last meeting.
Questions from the board? From Mr. Reed.
Do we have a final version of the contract?
Yes, I can give that to you guys, yes.
Was it considered to distribute that for our work session?
The only change that you had to the contract was adding in that one policy provision with respect to that additional policy in addition to the sexual harassment.
Okay.
So that's the only change. So it was not there's no other changes other than one I think you suggested with respect to adding that additional policy section, which we added in there, which I'll circulate that and you can look at that and see it.
Copies tonight?
I can do that tonight, yes.
Thank you.
Further questions from the board for Mr. Reed? Thank you, sir. Consent agenda, any changes there? Remove anything? Okay, next is number 8, is that right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mr. Director, number 8.
This is the 2018-2019 special courses request, and most of these tonight are dealing with the special ed, but the Instruction Department is requesting permission to make an application to offer credit for special courses under the following guidelines, rules and regs 521.3-.052A. Local school systems may offer special courses not listed in the 521.3-.06 on an experimental basis. The Commissioner of Education must approve each course in advance each year. Rutherford County Schools are requesting approval for the following special course requests: dramatic literature, entomology, anthropology, law and American society, art 4, then planning for transition, SPED, and focus for adulthood, introducing to self-advocacy, social emotional learning, transitions 1, transitions 2, and RISE. And the motion is to approve the 2018-19 special course request for Rutherford High Schools as presented. A lot of those transitions, you know, we do have to take students, some of them, until they're 22 years of age, you know, through their 21st birthday. So these are courses that some that involve basically going to work situations, family living, those trainings and treatments is tied in that. So that's that transition for those students, what we're talking about.
Questions for the Director on special courses? If not, number 9.
And by policy, courses offered for credit in grades 9 through 12 for the 2018-2019 school year, which is on your tab 2. The Instruction Department is requesting permission to offer the courses listed in the attachment for the 2018-2019 school year under the following guidelines. Board of Education Policy 4.201 states in part, the listing of courses offered for credit in grades 9 through 12 will be approved annually by the board. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve the 2018-2019 course offering list for Rutherford County High Schools as presented.
Board, any problem, comments, questions? 10A.
10A is facilities. The first one, this is some of Mr. Clardy's, some of the change orders. First one is the Oakland Middle School Annex change order number 1. The additional cost for change order number 1 for Oakland Middle School Annex from the R.G. Anderson Company is $500,000. During the permitting plan with the City of Murfreesboro, one of the requirements is to add a turning lane on Cushing. These funds will be used to replace the contingency that we used to fund the turning lane. This will increase the contract amount from $13,241,000 to $13,741,000. The funds have been amended at a previous board meeting by Mr. Sandvig. The motion is to approve change order number 1 from R.G. Anderson Company in the amount of $500,000.
Board, questions? Part B.
Okay, this again is another something required with dealing with City of Murfreesboro. Oakland Middle School Annex geothermal crossing at Cushing Avenue. Rutherford County Schools Engineering and Construction Department has requested permission from the City of Murfreesboro to cross Cushing Avenue with a geothermal line so we can relocate the new geothermal bore fields for the Oakland Middle Annex on the east side of Cushing Avenue. We have received approval from the City of Murfreesboro to cross Cushing Avenue by boring and sleeving under the road. Rutherford County and the City of Murfreesboro will enter into an agreement to cross Cushing Avenue without disturbing the existing pavement and roadway. The agreement is presented for the board and the board attorney's review. Recommend approval. The motion is to approve entering into agreement with the City of Murfreesboro for the crossing of Cushing Avenue with our geothermal lines. We explained this when Mr. Sandvig brought it earlier, I think. You certainly can't put geothermal under a building, and so with some of the additions, it can go under literally parking lots, or it can go under ball fields or things like that. But this is certainly the cheapest and best way to go for this one. Simply to go over to that property we have on the east side of Cushing. Mr. Clardy, you want to say anything about that?
Nothing other than we're just trying to prevent destroying what's already been put up there in ball fields and things. That drilling is just such a mess with all the water that's added, so it'll protect that softball field back there.
Questions? Part C.
Part C is Oakland Middle School Annex Laurel Stone Sewer Easement. Goodall Homes is developing a subdivision named Laurel Stone on the east side of our property in the floodplain across Cushing by the creek. They have worked with the Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department and Rutherford County Schools Engineering Department to develop a sewer connection at the north end of our property on Cushing Avenue. The requested sewer line will be mostly in the unusable floodplain portion of our property on the east side of Cushing Avenue. This sewer line will be installed at no cost to the Rutherford County School Board and will become the property of the Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department when completed. Since the new sewer will be on our property, the board will need to enter into an easement agreement with the City of Murfreesboro. The easement is presented for the board's review. Recommended approval. The motion is to approve the Laurel Stone Sewer Easement Agreement with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer Department as presented.
Questions, board?
I said the same thing. It seems like it's one way. We want to do something as a fee, and they didn't offer any payments for doing this.
Would we be able to tie onto that if we ever did build over there for any reason?
We will. We'll just have to resubmit it to the city to
Can they
get
charge us for it?
get approved. Probably that's the way it usually works.
And there will be some athletic facilities over there, which may be a restroom or something, so it may turn out to be something
We've got that sewer line already running down there. We've got a manhole down on the other end and those types of things. We made those arrangements previously. So the issue was that the sewer that we have there, we left them a sewer easement up the side where that access road goes off of Cushing, but the invert on that pipe at that elevation is higher than the one they're putting in. The other one will be lower, so they've got to go all the way down there and pick it up.
We are moving the softball field, is that right?
We are, I think we're going to leave that one. We've got plenty of room on the other side of the road, but we're going to disturb as little stuff on that side of the road as we can. And, you know, we'll do whatever we have to do.
It's soccer, baseball, softball. It's a middle school, so you got a number of fields that you're involved in.
All those fields, as far as I know, are fine, except the softball field. I don't think it's fine.
Well, they're in the process of submitting to put a batting cage up there, so you want me to hold off on presenting that?
Where's that going to go?
Over there, along that drainage easement up to the side of it, to the, if you're facing the field from the school, it would be on the left side, which would be the west side.
Well, we don't want to stop them from doing anything, but it just always bothered me that there are no stands there. There's no place to sit. There's no room.
I think we've got some of that shown on the other side of the road, but there are, you know, it's just been a real struggle to get this job done.
Yeah, I understand.
With the money that we have without running the bill up.
Understood. Thank you. Board, any questions? Further questions? Number 11.
Number 11 is the Blackman High School football field. Blackman High School football is planning a football field enhancement of a turf instead of grass field. We wish to do this to upgrade our field to increase usage and aesthetics. A rendering of the proposed field, the usage information, field information, and a fundraising plan is presented. The information provided is from Athletic Surface Plus, one company that facilitates turf fields. The total cost of the field is estimated at no more than $685,000 from our research and talks with various companies. Rutherford County Schools Purchasing will bid for a total package, including a project manager, possible fundraising support, design, engineering, and actual turf and installation. Blackman High School is not requesting any funds from Rutherford County Schools. Since we will be soliciting advertising contributions up front, as well as advertising commitments extended over multiple years, we will most likely have to get a loan to cover total cost, which will be fully covered by advance donations and/or commitments, or we will not proceed. We are therefore asking the Board of Education to allow Blackman High School to create a narrow and focused school support organization for the purposes of the football field enhancement only. The outside account will be managed by parents and community supporters and will be supervised with the principal of the high school and the Rutherford County Schools Director of Finance. Didn't put a motion on there because I wasn't sure exactly how you might want it worded, but they're prepared to do a presentation for you this evening if you'd like to see. Dr. Justice is here, and they've given us a document, but it'd be a good time to talk if it's okay with the board.
I think we probably need to do that. Dr. Justice, if you would, then if they have questions after you finish, then sure you can answer.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And you do have a document in front of you that was developed by our graphic arts program, Mr. David Comer, and his students. And so I wanted to give a shout out to that CTE program. Also with me tonight, I just wanted you to know who's here so that if you have questions that maybe could be better answered by someone else, I'll certainly let them come up here and do that. But Dr. Rich Allen is here. He's our parent organization president. We have Coach Kit Hartsfield, the head football coach at Blackman. We have Coach John McCreary, who is associate head coach in charge of the World. That's a new head coaching position there, so we appreciate that. And Mr. Scott Wallace, who is an assistant principal and also athletic director. I guess I start by saying that Coach Mack was filming valedictorians for our graduation film, and one of the questions was, what was the question? Can you explain, what does Blackman Pride mean to you? And the student went on to say something about being proud of, to be a graduate of Blackman and a valedictorian there because we approach academics and athletics with the same energy and intensity. And I thought that was really quite an amazing statement to come from a student, and was proud of that. 2.5 years ago, we started an athletic leadership team. We have a lot of instructional leadership teams that Mr. Odom is aware of, but this was an athletic leadership team about 2.5 years ago. We have a mission, we have a vision, we have core values. And I won't bore you with all of that tonight, but I do want you, the reason I want you to know that is because this is not just something that we thought one day, oh, that'd be neat. This is 2 years of working toward some things that we want to do with our athletic programs. 2 of our core values are really tied up in this proposal, and one of them is that we take pride in the presentation of our teams and our facilities, and the other one is about engaging our community. We truly feel like it's important for the community to be on our campus, to be engaged in healthy activities on our campus, and that football field can be used quite a bit by a lot of folks if we don't have to worry about tearing it up, right, coaches? So I can quickly go through some things and then take your questions, if that would be okay. If you'll flip to pass the memo is in here, but you have that. If you flip over to the next page, you'll see the current football field at the top, and you'll see the future football field at the bottom. Those 2 pictures I just think are a really graphic illustration of how nice this can be. The field, some of the advantages, lower maintenance cost. Dr. Anthony and I were talking about prior to this meeting just about the cost of maintaining a field, and you guys know this, you've been in the schools and you know, but $30,000 a year to maintain a field is probably a low guess. And then you throw in other people using the field and soccer, other sports using the field, and you throw in equipment that you've got to have to maintain a field, and that goes up. A turf field, once it's in, is very little with maintenance. It definitely increased playability, no more protect the field mentality. So all sorts of people can get on the field. The band, the other sports teams, PE. Sometimes during a week when it's been raining, and we have to protect the field. It is environmental friendly, and there is better safety and fewer injuries. The information that I have in this brochure is from one of the contractors that we've talked to just to gather information. We do understand that this will have to be bid out. We do want it bid out as a total package, and we talked to Mr. Sandvig about that. Because we just feel like someone who's a project manager, if you can get all of the design and engineering and installation and all of that with one bid, that's definitely what we want to do. There's some safety features there, and those facts come from research that this company has done and has shared with us. There was, I guess, at the beginning of time, some questions about the safety of what was in the turf fields. That's been corrected, and so there's no more lead, polyurethane, those types of things. Staph infection is no more liable there than it is on glass. The playability is a huge factor for me. Anything that's available to use 24/7, 365 days a year. I hazard to guess that we can probably fill it up. We get a lot of requests for the field. Teams can practice and play even when it's raining. You see the factor of increased usage, and you see all the different ways that it could be used, and that's just some of the ways. You'll never break down a turf field. It will be broken down by color and with ultraviolet lights in the end. You won't tear it up. Community outreach, again, is another part of our core values for our athletic leadership team, and you'll see some of the options there for community outreach. The turf field is expected to last 12 plus years, and you'll see the drainage there. You'll see what it's made of there. 15,000 installations in the U.S. The gentleman that we've spoken to is from, would bid, and we don't know if we would use him or not, but he's put in hundreds of these fields, and a lot of them are in West Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri. Has been here around here just a little bit. I know personally people, and I've been on one of the fields, but know personally people who have put in fields just recently in West Tennessee from where I was. So, warranties are 8 years. Excessive play, again, does not degrade. We wanted to have a good idea of what the cost we were looking at for the total package, and I did some research myself on some fields and came up with the $685,000, I think is what I gave you when we started talking this summer. And it's interesting that kind of the figure that they're giving us from this particular company is $685,000, and that includes the project manager's fee. So that's pretty good. Again, we bid out. We don't know. That's why I said it would cost no more than $685,000, because we know what theirs will cost. And so, of course, we would go with the lowest but best bid. So, sources. So how do we pay for it? We do know that any replacement fields will basically be paid for by what you save in field maintenance cost. If you think about $30,000 a year, that's a low figure again. Multiply that, let's go 10 years, so there's $300,000. You can just about put the field in for a little over $300,000. The initial cost has to do, Mr. Clardy, with grading and the sub floor of a field. So that's why the extra cost after that's put in, you don't have to do that again. So how do we pay for it? There's options for naming opportunities. There's advertising panels. There's private donations. We definitely do want to make it so that people of any means can participate in donations and feel like they have a part in doing this field. So we can go from anything to selling, bricks for $100 with a kid's name on it, to let a parent whose kids played there feel like they've been a part, to large $150,000 field naming options. There are opportunities for gifts in kind, so that if we know someone who can grade and will give us a better deal or do it for free, we can save money that way. Again, we didn't count on any of that in the $685,000 number. If you flip over to the field naming opportunities, the first page that you see with Ford and some of the others those are names that are actually on the field for a $150,000 package, advertising package. A company would put their logo on the diagonal of the field. So about on the 25-ish yard line, Scott, and then on the other side of the field, same 25 yard. You could have 2 name the field sponsors and have all 4 corners, or you could just have 1. If you look at the legacy logo panel examples, on the right side of the page there, you see the McDonald's sign. Those are 7 by 10, Rich, 7 by 10 feet, and they really pop. And again, if you look to the next page, there are sponsorship levels. So again, the field naming goes about $150,000. The legacy sponsor is $50,000. There are some things that come with that. You could pay it up front and get it for $45,000, or you could do it over 10 years. And so if you're a smaller business, you could do this and just spread it out over 10 years. The legacy sponsor puts the panel on the home side and the visitor side. And then the Blaze sponsor goes on just the home side, I think. And then the orange sponsor goes on just the visitor side, and of course it's a cheaper way to do it. Just a little bit of information on this company, just so you would know where the information that's in this booklet comes from, and a little bit about Mr. Cowan as well. But questions for us? We feel like this is doable. Without doing any kind of blitz on reaching out to people, just a little bit of word of mouth, we're very close to securing the field naming business right now, and I can't go forth unless we can go forth. The thing that I'm asking, but that's huge, because you get that's big, and then you start to get the other, a few legacy panels, and you jump up there pretty quickly, and you're getting close. I'm sincere as I can be about, we get the commitments, really over the commitments, or we don't go. We feel like we feel strongly that we can. We have a good team of community supporters who are working with us. Without naming names, but we've got a banker, we've got a Chamber of Commerce person who's helping us, and we've got a marketing person, and then Rich as a community member and a parent as well. So there's also some faculty on that committee. Our biggest, obstacle is just that if you start bringing money in, you got to have a place to put it. We know that with commitments being able to go over certain years, you won't have all of your money up front. And so we've got to have a place to put it, and we've got to have a place to, if we have to get a loan, but again, the loan is based on your commitments. It's not, we're not saying, we think we're going to we raise it first, but it may be in commitments. So, of course, you can't do that inside all of our accounts. Most of our accounts are inside the school at this point. I think we might have band and cheer and they're in. We have a couple who are still out. But otherwise, all of our athletics are in. So what we're asking for is just a very narrow and focused school support organization for the purpose of the field enhancement. That's all we want to do with it. And I like that because it's, I know what goes into that account. I know how it's spent out. I know what it's going for. There's no mixing of funds. I just think it'll be an easy way to keep up with the finances of this in one account whose purpose is solely that. After we pay for the field, its purpose, it would continue because its purpose would be then to hold the money for future fields that you would have to do. So any future fundraising and that would go for the field would go through that account so that we could make enough quickly to secure the field when we have to replace it in about 12 years.
Dr. Justice, so Are you planning on starting the field before you have all of your finance in place? Are you going to collect some money, someone's going to sign their name to a loan, I presume it's going to be a booster, and you'll have all that money in place, and then you'll do the...
We'll have all the money or commitments, so it'll either be advance or the commitments in place, and
But I mean, excuse me, I know you're going to have commitments to pay it back.
Right.
But before you put a shovel in the ground, you're going to have the money to complete the project, and then you'll pay it back.
Right. It could be a loan. It could be part of it in a loan form because you don't get all of that cash up front.
Okay.
But if I don't...
You're going to have all your funds in place before...
Yes, sir. Before we put a shovel in the ground.
Rephrase. You're going to have it's going to be liquid for you to pay these...
Am I going to pay $685,000 before I put a shovel in the ground?
Are you going to have that in place guaranteed?
I will have it in place with either advance or commitments.
Okay, I still think we're on two different... We've had some facilities that have started, and all the money was not in place beforehand, and they have...
$685,000 will not be in that account, and I won't be able to write a check for $685,000. Except for, you know, we have commitments, we have whatever money we have up front, we get a loan, and then I'll be able to pay for the entire thing, and then the commitments and other fundraising will pay off the loan. And that has to be through an outside account, of course. It can't be through the school.
She's only going to get part of the money to start with because they can make it up to 10 years. So take the part she gets, pay it on it. What she doesn't have, she can get a loan for the rest of it, but she'll have the commitments for those advertisers for the next 5 to 10 years.
Who would you anticipate would sign for the loan?
The school support organization would have parents and community members as the leaders of that, and I would anticipate that they would sign. Some loans have been given with these fields in the state of Tennessee based on the commitments. But I can't tell you that would happen, but I can tell you it has happened.
The loan would be signed by their booster club. Wouldn't be signed to us.
By the officers. Well, that's what you were asking, if there would be personal guarantees, and it would be the people on the board of the facilities support organization, or whatever we name it.
When you say commitment, I mean, there's commitments and there's commitments.
I understand.
And I would think you would want a guaranteed commitment.
We would have contractual commitments.
Okay. Just 2 or 3 things here real quickly. I noticed the track seems to be in place and in good shape in these pictures. I guess it's going to remain that way.
It would.
And I believe you said, how long does it take to put this field in? A couple of months?
If that.
You're looking at 2019?
Maybe not.
Oops. You're aggressive, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've done our research.
I understand.
We've done our research.
Well, I wouldn't challenge you on that.
Okay. Thank you.
I know better.
A lot of projects, the money can be raised in 3 to 4 weeks. We got an aggressive team working.
As you talk about the legacy logo panels, if 2 years in, a legacy logo panel partner defaults.
Right.
I thought I read in some of the material that these are, I'm going to say, zip out type of.
They can be removed.
And they could be removed.
And you can either replace it with turf that matches the turf, or you can resell the spot. How many spots would we have in a field? We have more spots on the field than we need to build the field. 36 total.
Is soccer
Yes.
satisfied with the lining that they've got there? Because it looks a little confusing as to exactly where the boundary lines are for soccer because of some of the advertising.
Right. They're thrilled.
Okay.
Soccer's thrilled.
They'll deal with running over top of McDonald's
Right.
and not knowing exactly where the outline
Right.
is.
The outline is right on the edge of those, so they'll know that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I've given this some thought, so that's why I'm bringing up some questions that I've been concerned about. Our athletic fields have been attractive targets for bad behavior from time to time. I don't think you can plant a tree in the middle of this thing, but if someone got on the field with a four-wheeler or a bike, did donuts, what kind of expense to repair is there? Because replacing turf is one thing, but replacing this turf apparently is something different.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do about that?
We would have to replace, I mean, if the field was torn up due to vandalism, we would have to replace it, and of course
As far as the carpet itself, if
Right.
you had swaths that you had to replace, what kind of,
it depends on how large the swatch is. They said it wasn't very expensive to take out one of these logos. So if it was small, we'd be okay. If it was large, we wouldn't be quite so okay. We would, courts want to know who did it, and they could do the payment for us. That'd be great.
Have any of the vendors spoken of insurance or anything like that, or anyone else who's put in fields? Are there insurance policies for vandalism?
There are insurance policies that you can take out on the field. I don't. That would take some more research on my part to see if that was cost effective. I don't know.
County insurance like $100,000 deductible. That probably wouldn't be.
and that was my point, that's a pretty tall expense. And the reason you want to take it outside of the school rather than letting that bookkeeper that we provided a couple of years ago keep up with it, remind me why you would rather it not be.
Oh, I'd rather be in the school, but because if you have to take a loan, you can't take a loan through the school, right? So if I don't get $685,000 hard cash up front,
But you're going to have personal guarantees on that. It's just that
on the outside, yeah.
would be paying it.
Right. And then, I mean, there are other ways to do it, and we've looked into some things, foundations and such. But I don't want to do that. It takes it out of when you do the school support organization, to me, you've got more control over that. If you've got to go outside at all, you've got more control over that. I see those books as often as I want to, and I'm diligent about looking at those. I do like the idea of having it in one account where it's very clear what the money is doing.
But wouldn't disclosure of those accounts be by the grace of the directors of that organization?
In a school support organization?
Right.
I can ask for those anytime I want to. That's part of our, yeah. And I think, you know, we're asked, or I think it's in policy that we can ask as often as we want to. So I see them, on the ones that I still have outside, I see them a lot.
Where you were principal before Houston, they had grass field when you were there. Isn't that correct?
They did.
And they now have one of these. Is that right?
They do.
Is somebody in Nashville putting in one right now? MBA? Brentwood? Franklin?
High School. Nolensville has one.
Yeah, Nolensville, yeah.
Franklin, I think they're constructing. They haven't already started construction. I believe they're starting. Brentwood High School does in privates in Nashville.
Nolensville High School, was it built for construction, for original construction?
I think so too.
Our understanding is that Williamson County is putting those in new schools because they pay for themselves in the end. So they go ahead and put them in the new schools. So y'all could do that with Rockville?
We could do that at Rockville?
Too late.
Sure, if you got $600,000, $700,000, we
10 years out, you'd be in good shape. But I'm not trying to advocate for that. We would just like to do it for our purposes.
And I don't want to come across as being antagonistic. I just want to be convinced that, you know, the money's there, that you're not going to get 3/4 of the way into the project and oops, we're out of money, or that we have another issue with the money being outside
I understand.
the scope of the in-school bookkeepers.
Right. I understand.
Those are my two concerns.
I do understand that. And I just want to reiterate that, number one, I'm very careful with outside accounts and have found things, and I'm careful about outside accounts. And the other thing is that we're not going forward unless we have either the advance money, if someone pays $50,000 up front for one of the legacies, or we have contractual commitments in the amount of whatever it ends up being. 685 is, no more than 685.
That's what I would like to see is if you don't have the money, have contractual agreement.
We stop. We don't do it.
That would build my confidence.
That's in writing for you.
I would also point out that by policy, the naming of Rutherford County facilities is the sole jurisdiction of the school board. And if these were just simply sponsors, that would be, a different circumstance. But if we call these naming, then I think we may run into a policy problem.
Well, it's a realistic situation here. The money part of it, $50,000 legacy, and if you got a $50,000 legacy sponsor, and if they wanted to, they could pay you $45,000 in advance. But if they didn't want to, they could pay you $5,000 in advance, upfront money, and then they would submit a written contract over the next 9 years to give you $45,000 more.
That's
right?
Correct.
Okay. Sir?
I was just going to say, I didn't want to sound flippant on your answer, but or question, but the issue we run into is that if they are paying for theirs and we pay for Rockville's, we end up paying for everyone else in the county that wants it, and then they're holding the bag because they paid for their own. So it's it's a lot more complicated than just getting $600,000-700,000 and going and putting it in. You need more like $4 million or more to put it in for everyone if you're going to put it in for one, because we run into that problem a lot of times on different things, and it may seem okay right now, but down the road, you know, it's like the lighting and those other things like that, we get into a situation where everyone wants one, and it's only fair. If, you know, we had that issue all the way through Oakland and Riverdale, where they did so much stuff on their own, and then we went out and put things up to catch the other people up. And so those two schools got the short end of the stick on that because they paid for their own stuff. But the point I want to make is if they pay for their own, then Rockville should pay for their own.
Unless the board is convinced that this is an upgrade that makes financial sense, that this is the same kind of upgrade as high-efficiency lighting inside of our school buildings, that we said this actually pays us back. This is a net neutral circumstance. And if that's the case, then, you know, it makes a different type of argument. Now, the counter to that is we're not paying for the level of field maintenance that these fields are getting. The booster organizations are paying for that. You know, the $30,000 a year for field maintenance, I don't think any of that's coming out of our standard budget. That's coming out of these booster clubs. Isn't that correct?
One of the issues that I'll bring forth, and I'm not trying to discourage you doing this, but as I listen, they guarantee this thing for what, how long? 8 years?
10 to 12 years, 12 years plus.
And they wear out in 15. So if they would last 15, they would guarantee them for 15. So the issue you're going to have is once you get it paid for on savings, you're going to have to do it all over again. And who will pay for it the next time that it goes in? Will it be the school board, or will it be the organization that put it in originally? So it's a lot deeper than that, than just, you know, those type of things. So I want to throw those out there, and, you know, it sounds like a good program, but I think if Blackman does it, then everyone else should have to do it.
And we,
that with.
Yeah, and we're not asking the board for anything. We just want the opportunity to enhance our facilities.
If somebody paid you to be a legacy sponsor, then does that have a time limit on it? Or is it forever and ever and ever?
We run 10 years.
So,
in 10 years, we could resell everyone.
That was what I was about to say. Essentially, Mr. Clardy's right. Essentially, in 10 or 15 years, you start over with a new fundraising and new turf and maybe new advertisers.
But we will have also been banking, you know, field maintenance money for 10 to 12 years.
Understood.
So you're
and drawing interest on it.
So you're 3.
Now this is I just want to make sure that we're clear here. I think maybe Mr. Blair was kind of hinting around at this a little bit, but this account is very, very narrow, to use your word, and applies to only this one thing, which is fine. But now, gate receipts, concession receipts, all that is separate.
Still in the school.
Beg pardon?
Still in the school.
Okay. Board? Further questions?
Aren't the gate receipts and concessions part of what pays the $30,000 of field maintenance now?
Yes.
How does that money get from there into the outside account?
It probably does. I don't think we can move from one account to the other. So what we would do if we're holding that money in the school account is just when we started to pay for whatever the next time, we would make that part of that check from that money.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We could set up a restricted account for some amount of gate receipts, concession, work out, and where that money would be in the school's regular bank accounts, but would not be available for other purposes. Couldn't just be spent by overall football program
Gotcha.
or whatever like that.
If you do this, if you do it this way, then all these other entities, when they have a project on school ground, they're going to want to do the same thing if it gets outside the school. And they're going to want to have a narrow, focused account. I'm still not convinced that we would not be better served for it to stay in the school, because the school is not taking a loan. That money is just going to go to the school, and then with your permission, it will be used to pay towards that debt. Am I making it too simple?
I don't know that can happen, Mr. Sandvig.
I don't know, unless you had several deep-pocketed individuals who are willing to guarantee a loan, that it would be possible to do it outside of some kind of limited purpose school support organization.
Any monies that, if we rent a copier or something like that for multi-years, they have to go through the county commission for approval every year,
Yeah.
so
We cannot
probably don't want
borrow,
that.
our schools cannot borrow without full approval from the county commission. And we've never, copiers.
Not saying borrow, saying repay. So you're saying it would be inappropriate for that account, even though it's in the school, that money collected for that narrow focus to go into that school, and that money cannot be paid back towards that account?
I think with board approval, we could do that piece, but it's who would hold the debt?
Right, and so I think,
We cannot, the school cannot.
right, but if 6 people signed a $100,000 signature loan, and then they took that asset and wanted to donate it to Blackman High School and put it in that account, then all of a sudden that account inside of Blackman High School has $600,000. But the debt is not Blackman High School's, it's the 6 people who signed the loan.
And we would probably need to get some blessing from,
I don't know whether a promissory note would cover the auditor's requirement, but, I don't know.
we would need some interpretations from the state, guidance from the state.
In order for that money to pay towards that debt? Is that what you're saying?
We would have to make sure that it was structured in such a way that the debt was not tied to the school.
Well, the debt wouldn't be, because nobody from the school would sign for it. The only issue I'm talking about is that account paying towards that debt.
That's what we did with I'm drawing a blank on which building it was, but there was some debt related to an earlier instance, and we met with Mr. Reed, and the board approved us paying that debt. The booster group had quit making payments, and the board approved those payments being made from the athletic receipts of that sport for the last amount being paid off. That was probably, was that less than a year?
Was it me?
Was, yes. I think that may have been less than a year, but they had quit making payment.
It was, yeah, it was one lump sum.
Yeah. But we had board approval to pay it off.
How soon do you need to know something?
We're ready to go, and we have some people who are ready to sign on. I don't want to lose an opportunity. Mm-hmm.
I'm just not comfortable at this time to really pursue this at this time.
But I mean, if you have guarantees, I mean, if there's contractual guarantees for that money that, that guarantees that field's going to be finished, if the board attorney and sees that that is, I'm okay with it under those circumstances, but I do not want there to be any opportunity for that field to get 60% done and not have the funds to complete it, or at some point in time, somebody come to the board and say, we expect to be paid. So if that's, if those contractual guarantees are in place, but I still would like to see, with all that we've been through over the years with outside money, unless there's some reason with the state prohibiting it, I would rather stay inside the school, because it's a collection vehicle and a payment vehicle. It's in and out money from the best I can tell, but I'm not a finance guy, so.
Where'd Franklin get the money? Where'd their money come from? That's an old school.
I think that was part of their school board. I think they're making those advancements throughout the county.
I think you said that, brother.
I think they're doing one school a year for a certain number of years. I don't know if it's one or every other year or how they're doing it.
Is Franklin High a county or a city school? Because I know they have a Franklin Special School District.
Yeah, that's only elementary.
I couldn't remember. Okay.
That's a Williamson County school, isn't it?
As is Brentwood High School. They got theirs a year ago. They played on it this year.
They sprung for the $700,000 every other year, whatever.
Wow.
When your home sell for $400,000, you can do that. Average, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Again, we're not asking you for it, but we just would like to have the opportunity. And, you know, when you've got some folks who just from word of mouth are ready, when it gets out there, and when we feel very confident that we will get this, but we won't go forth if we don't.
What questions does Dr. Justice need to answer for us? Yeah. Right.
So that's on the board.
Well, we got to have. I need to know what those questions are.
Well, mine was, and Dr. Justice has answered those, certainly, because she's on public record now because TV and tape, but as long as you can guarantee the board that the money will be guaranteed by somebody other than the school system, that this will be completed.
Accounts to be managed in the school account versus out of school account.
I would like to get some guidance, making sure that that the multi-year rule is covered, however we do it. I just sent an email, or I'm trying to send an email. Yeah. And I don't know if I can have an answer tomorrow or not, but I can try.
I'd like to know what the financial feasibility of vandalism insurance is. And I'd also like to see a more specific plan about the residual fund that would be held for the replacement of the field. Because the board has the opportunity, as Mr. Clardy pointed out, to be looking at what today would be a $700,000, or no, I'm sorry, you said replacement would be in the $300 to $350 range. Okay, so in 10 years from now, the board is potentially looking at a $350,000 replacement, which by that point, 10 years from now, could easily be $400,000. So if we speak of it as $400,000, how do we get to $400,000 10 years from now so that the board that is being told today will have no financial responsibility for this improvement, indeed has no financial responsibility for this improvement 10 years from now?
Well, you said you were going to bank the field up, money, equipment, everything that you...
Right, and that's just one thing, because that gives you a big bulk of money.
Right.
But, I mean, you're still doing fundraising. You can still sell these logos all through that time, and that money would be, would be banked as well. Facilities use fees. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm hearing you want a plan for how you replace the field in 12 years, let's say, and Mr. Young, you want me to work with Mr. Sandvig on the feasibility of keeping the money in the school, having a loan that is guaranteed by some parents or community members outside the school, but the school pays that loan. Right. But am I hearing that? Because I'm just making sure is that right?
That was my thought too, is that the school account just is in and out money.
We just pay somebody else's loan. Okay.
And insurance was also a concern.
Vandalism insurance.
And it may be, and I may be all wrong, it may be that the school account cannot repay this loan, and you may have to have a focus account. I just wanted to be confident that that was the case, since we've had some issues in the past, and that's why we hired all of the additional bookkeepers, was to forego those issues that we've had in the past.
I understand.
So,
I lived them.
I'm trying to be a roadblock, but just wanted to try to be, Mr. Young said, consistent in what we've done in the past, or the recent past.
And it's going to have to work, because we're going to have to do it again, because we all know what's going to happen. And that's fine. If this is a good idea for you, it may well be a good idea for Oakland High School. I got no problem with that. If they want to, raise money for electronics out there and jumbo board and so forth. I mean, they can do it for a field. Any other school can do it too. So, but we're going to have to look very carefully at whatever plan that Blackman puts in, because we're probably going to have to do it again.
And we also need to consider that at some point we will be presented with the fact that a majority of the fields have been changed and a minority of the fields have not. And will this board address that? When we break this seal, at some point in the future, that question will come back.
I'm hearing 3 questions that I'll be prepared to talk about on Thursday.
Anything else, board, right now?
Didn't mean to grill you, just due diligence.
I completely understand and I appreciate it. Of course, we want to do our project, and we feel invigorated right now because we have some folks who are ready to jump on board, so.
Well, to coin a phrase, pun intended, I think this is indeed breaking new ground. And I also think that this county, as football crazy as it is, this is, I think, coming. Now, we may not be out in front of it, and we may not do it. I don't know. Whatever board eventually says on this topic, but I think this is going to happen. And I really think it probably should happen. Now, whether this is a good plan or not, I guess we can discuss that. Is there other discussion on this topic before we revisit it on Thursday night and maybe get some answers to these questions, and you maybe will have further thoughts Thursday night rolls around?
Chairman, in the spirit of a work session, just thoughts that I'm having, and I've thought about, we'll have budget meeting tomorrow night, and we'll look at various things where we have increasing investments in extracurricular and athletic efforts. Williamson County's Board of Education has made a decision to maintain complete and total control and take on the expense of the upgrade. This is another point where this board could be saying that we're going to go down a path where community investment will drive what kind of activities we have in the school. If there's enough interest, enough community support, then that's what's going to happen in one of our schools, as opposed to the board having a complete control in that regard. I'm not sure which way is the right way, but I am noting what the Williamson County Board has chosen to do.
You make a good point there too. A lot of you in the room will smile when I say this, but if a school does something, or we do something for a school when we build it, or for whatever reason we do something for a school, the other schools look and they say, where's ours? We already know that happens. And when we built Blackman, it was football field was in place. Baseball field was in place. Softball field, which is beautiful, by the way, was in place. None of that existed at Riverdale or Oakland when it was built. And we've had some other things, I won't go into them, but you all know them as well as I, where we've made some improvements somewhere, and then another school wants to know where is their improvement. And Title IX has contributed to that, and rightly so. But this is something that we always have to keep that in mind. I mean, that's got to be something that we know about. I haven't looked at the plans for Rockvale here recently, but I suggest it'll be the best ever, and it probably will have something that no other school has got, I'm sure. Stewart's Creek surely did. So we're always playing catch up, as you well know. Any other comments?
I asked Mr. Blair about the insurance piece because I'm not sure who does it, and he said probably some outside or something.
Probably a surplus line carrier, but something this narrowly focused would probably be fairly expensive, I would suspect, with a large deductible.
If there's nothing else on this topic, Dr. Justice and friends, thank you for being here tonight. You're welcome to stay through the end of our meeting if you wish.
Might be beneficial to stay and have some more conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Number 12.
Number 12 is a student discipline appeal. The board has been requested to review the March 13, 2018 decision of the Disciplinary Hearing Authority to uphold the remandment of a student from Blackman High School. The student was remanded to Smyrna West Alternative School under Board Policy 6.313 for death threats against teachers. Based on a review of the DHA's record, the board may 1. Affirm the decision of the DHA, 2. Overturn the decision of the DHA, 3. Modify the decision to a lesser penalty, or 4. Grant a new hearing before the board. And I think you have a packet at your seat tonight of that findings of the Disciplinary Hearing Committee.
Questions for the director?
Mr. Director, is this the same one where
Yes, the other
the
night.
representative had spoken to us at the other? Okay.
As I understand it, Mr. Reed, we will not be hearing any further comment on that Thursday night. We've got our reading material to take care of.
Yeah, under the policy, everything comes to you as a record, so you get a record of the disciplinary committee proceeding, and so the records before you are the ones that you have to rely upon to make your decision, and you have the 4 options you have there. If you decide to have a hearing, then at that point we would do that at a later date, and then at that point everyone can present a full case and trial before the board for you to rule on what you want to do about it.
Questions, board? Let's move on. Insurance update?
Our next meeting is going to be April the 26th, so we'll have some information to share after that meeting.
April 26th. Thank you, Dr. Anthony. Director's update.
You can guess it's about testing.
I'm stunned and shocked.
Some of that. But, you know, we've been getting a lot of Twitter messages blaming Rutherford County for this. It's the Nextera platform by Questar. The issues all across the state of Tennessee, and it's not in one area, about students being not able to sign on, being kicked off. Issues is not Rutherford County's. Early Monday when we started having the problem, I went back to our technology people. I says, tell me where we are in bandwidth. I want to see, because we have the ability to graphically show that and numbers, and also in graphs too. We have a 10 gig system. We were running around 4 gigs, so we weren't anywhere near our capacity. So all of this issues with testing is not our devices, our machines. It is the platform from Questar. Early today, they were saying that it was a hack into Questar that came out on the news, that sort of thing. This afternoon, they're no longer saying that. You know, so it very well could be the fact that maybe 400,000 students tried to sign on. You know, that appears like a cyber threat sometimes, simply because of the number of hits at one time. But, you know, we've had 2 tough days in dealing with this, so we kind of made a decision this afternoon. We're not the only one. I hear Williamson's going to do the same, and several other larger systems, that Mr. Evans is doing a communication with parents that basically, I did go to elementary, middle, and high today. Elementary is going very well. We'll continue the testing tomorrow on the paper pencil at the elementary school. That's sharpen your pencil, and it works really well. But we are going to pause tomorrow on testing of new areas of the test or students really in the middle and the high, to see if the state can come up with Questar some resolution on this, or the legislature make some decision about what to do about this. This is a huge accountability measure. You know, these are the scores that will give you the ABC letter grades when they put out the report card this fall. And you have subgroups there. You have to test 95% of your students. So most people do not realize the significance of this to individual teachers, you know, to the schools and their letter grades, and the district. So they are adding, told us this afternoon, 2 additional test days. So the window has been extended a couple of days. That'll give us some chance to try to make some of that up if we have to do that. But I would like to see if tomorrow they can make some corrections or changes, or give us a little bit more direction. And then our plan would be to resume on Thursday as we had planned before. Now, there may be some cases tomorrow where people got kicked off in the middle of tests. The state's coming out with some steps they're calling recovery, that the data may be out there in Cyberland, somewhere where students submitted or information, that there's some steps that we may be able to do to go into the recovery mode for those students to see if it can be pulled back up. So there'll be some time tomorrow probably looking to see what's there. You know, these are time tests. We, on Monday, the proctors should be able to sign in ahead of time, see where each student is in the computer lab that's working on it. Some students got in Monday, but the proctors couldn't get in at all. So you didn't really know how fast students were working or what was happening. They were blocked out. So there's some real issues. There's got to be some priorities or things done by the state. And I think the legislature may take it up in a committee tomorrow morning to talk about it some more. Ms. Moore may have additional information. I communicated with you, communicated with our legislators. Very, very much concerned with the validity of the test. Many people do not understand mindset of students. You know, and I would like it to. I got some football coaches out there. When you go into a football game and you set the mindset of how you're going to play this game, and you're going to, you know, even if it's a very tough opponent, you pump your kids up, you get them ready. The teachers have been saying, we've got this, we've covered the material, you can do it. You know, if you go out on the football field and the first play you fumble the ball and the other team scores, that was Monday, and you get the ball back because the other team scored, and you get it again and you fumble again, and set back, that's today, that's Tuesday, then where are we in trying to begin to develop mindset? So if we can get some answers for this and help teachers help us to reset mindset with students, maybe get the parent confidence back some too. But I want to assure the people listening, it is not Rutherford County system that's doing it. It's not our technology or lack of technology. It is the platform that the state is using for the TN Ready assessments. The window is very tight, extended 2 days. Just very quickly after that, AP assessments and CTE assessments is tied to their licensure, you know, that sort of thing that they have to do is following very closely behind that. So the calendar here is extremely tight, but we just feel it may be better to let's stop, take a breath for middle and high. That's the online piece, and take a look at that and see what kind of happens tomorrow and what decision comes down from the state and what communication. I personally think it's a capacity issue. There's a lot of people hitting it at one time. They say it is not, but why we start out the morning fine, as the clock from East Tennessee clicked 1 more hour, middle and high signed on, happened both days, then that's when Zoom things start happening. So really interesting to see. But again, we'll see. Questions related to that?
Yeah, I had not heard anyone say that this is Rutherford County's fault, but you kind of started.
James has seen it in Twitter.
Okay. Are there problems in Memphis?
Yes.
Are there problems in Knoxville?
Yes. Knoxville is debating whether they test tomorrow or not either.
Okay. And there are problems, I assume, then in Metro Nashville?
I haven't. At school, we have a listserv with superintendents, and it's lit up all day long. It's all over the state. It's you know, when you make your testing calendar, you have with some flexibility. It's supposed to do the language arts first, but you had some flexibility as what you test first. You know, your sequencing, so you don't always have everybody testing the same course at the same time. So even with that variability, there seems to be some issues. Okay. You seeing anything else, Mr. Evans?
I was just going to say that a lot of parents don't understand the difference. All they see is they hear from their kids that testing got canceled or something messed up, and they assume that something happened on our end. We've received multiple messages today through email, through Twitter, through Facebook saying that we need to do a better job. We can't believe we failed again. And I've been trying to correct those one by one. Some of those people are taking my explanation that it's not our doing. Some just assume that it's still our fault and that we're trying to cover it up. That's just the nature of public concern. But yes, we have been trying to emphasize that this is a state platform that they provide. They're responsible for making sure it's stable and that we're doing the best that we can with what we have to work with. We also have no control over what test we give. We have some people who are asking us, can we do this test instead of doing the state TN Ready test? And Mr. Odom can obviously tell you we can't choose that either. The state chooses what tests we give and the platforms that we have to use to give them and the window that we give them. And that's what I'm trying to explain to parents when they contact the students too. They're frustrated just like we are, and they're lashing out, which is understandable.
Dr. Justice, your problems today, you have trouble with sign-ons and other things too, what you saw? You're a large high school, so.
Large high school, sign-ons, freezing when they did get on. Some of the students who were able to complete a test today, which no one completed anything yesterday, could not submit. When they submitted, it froze. We secured all of the labs and then had to bring the students back in later. Some of the students could submit at the end. What we're very concerned about, the validity of what they were submitting. So their eyes, they were very quiet. The students were very quiet.
The mindset, right?
It's a different response. They're very quiet, large-eyed, and just, I felt like they were saying, help us, help us. So we had some errors that were numbered, and
there was a server
we supported
Atlanta,
right.
Number 25, server problem in Atlanta.
There was a 525, there was a 522. We don't know what those errors mean, but we saw them all. And so it was not a, we had to be in and out of testing areas, right? Because we had to go troubleshoot. So, I mean, I would never go into a testing area, and talk to kids during it, during a test. But what did you see? What happened? And I thought this is not the environment that we want our students to be.
I think validity
scored
is
on.
questionable for the entire online assessment this year.
Right.
That's Don Odom's opinion, and
right.
may not fit anybody else.
Well, unfortunately, this is the third straight year of this debacle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear this from any of your school students, but I did hear some other high schools that students were frustrated and saying what's going to happen, what's done. They were going in, signing on, and hitting the submit button, which means you miss every question on that portion of the test.
No, we did not have that, but yeah, it would be terrible.
No second chances for that either.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3 years ago, it was Mr. Huffman's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years ago, it was the vendor's fault. Mm-hmm. And this year, it's hacking. It's never the State Department of Education's fault. Never. And Dr. McQueen sat right here and told us, well, I'm shutting up now. She was here for 2 hours. And this is what we get.
Well, anyway, short of it, take a little pause tomorrow and see if some things get worked out, either from legislative side or the testing vendor, State Department of Education side. I hope that's a good decision, and time will tell, but I hope it is.
Mr. Director, I'd like, first of all, I guess my thought process is at this point, why would we continue to torment our teachers and our administrators and all of our great kids out there by continuing to say we're going to try again, we're going to try again? I mean, we've already, and I don't know, we may or may not even have a choice there, but I know, for instance, we've already gotten one email from one of our principals this evening at a very large high school. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. It just came in a little while ago. And I'm not going to share the name of the principal of the high school, but it was basically along the lines of, look, we have X number of labs to do this testing. We have X number of days left. There is absolutely no way physically possible that we can complete this testing. And then they've got things where already have, you know, senior trips planned and activity days where they've spent and made big down payments and money that would probably be another testing day that's going to get forced on them. So I have been trying to stay in touch throughout the day with our legislators, and I did just get a text a little while ago from Representative Dawn White, which I appreciated. This came in at 5:40, and she said, FYI, we've put amendments on a bill to help with today's 10 ready problems, and it's going back to committee. Just wanted to let you know. Now, whether or not that means going back to committee tonight or being agended for tomorrow, I'm not sure yet. I did answer her back and ask if she could share any more detail that I could possibly report on tonight, and haven't heard anything back. So if I find out there are going to be committee meetings convening tomorrow, I'm going to see if I can't get up there to sit in on them myself. So.
Made a number of excellent points right there, and Mr. Holliday copied me on an email today to the state legislature, which was excellent, and I don't know whether they will back up and just do away with the whole thing, which really, by the way, I think they should do. I really do, but they may not do that. It also bothers me, and Mr. Estes has already mentioned this to me tonight before we started the meeting, that we went down and explained to the county commission why we needed $1 million early, you know, for computers and whatnot, so we could do all this kind of stuff. At least that was part of the reason. And they came through and supported us and did it. And now we can't even take a test.
It's actually $5 billion at the time.
Was it?
3 years ago, we put the wireless networks and things in.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, we did ask them for $1 million early
Yep.
on 1 year for that purpose. And anyway, and then we prepare these youngsters and pump them up, like your football analogy, which was excellent. The coaches smiled while you were saying that, by the way, it's exactly true. And the teachers get, you know, they're going to cover this and cover that, and they outline the days and what they're going to do and everything, and then they get to the, you know, the actual day, and
except that, you know,
nothing happens.
You know, the effect scores of the students is how teachers get tenure or lose tenure. You know, all of that. So there are very, very high stakes here. There are high stakes for students on their, if it counts 25% of their grade, their GPAs, their college scholarships and stuff. So we're not talking about issues that don't affect people. You know, we got a lot of 44,800 students and another little over 3,000 certified staff, and everybody's affected by this. This is not a game thing. Very high stakes in this. The other piece is Mr. Sandvik made it back in with us. Him and Ms. Williams went to Jackson for a state meeting on the revenue side for maybe what state, and he walked in, so I had a chance to talk to him. We got a meeting tomorrow night, so he went down there early because the other one's scheduled next week or later. So I don't know what you got today, if you got estimates. So that's our issue. We know how we want to spend the money. You've seen that at times, but we just don't know any. We don't have the revenue piece. Probably as late as I've ever seen that piece still missing on us. What kind of gap might we have or not have? So.
We may have it by the weekend.
It's not going to be ready tomorrow night.
It will not be ready tomorrow night. And as of Ms. Nolan sent me local revenue estimates, except for current property taxes, which is the biggest of the local pieces.
So all you got was basically sales tax or something, maybe estimate.
Sales tax, yeah, and odds and ends. Mm-hmm.
And that's down from what it was before.
Yeah, the rate of growth is down.
Anything else, Mr. Director?
No, sir.
Number 15, Ms. Moore, anything from TLN?
I'll defer report until the actual meeting for this Thursday. Yeah.
Mr. Holliday? Thank you, Ms. Moore. Mr. Holliday, anything from federal boys and girls?
Yeah, I'll share with you that criticism, as all of the ESSA plans have come through the Department of Education now. We're talking about the Federal Department of Education, and there's substantial criticism. I thought I would point out to the board that one of those criticisms is Indiana, Missouri, New Mexico, and the state of Washington use the same definition for two categories of schools. Now, this would be the equivalent in Tennessee of the A through F ranking of our schools. And two of their categories were targeted support or additional targeted support. And they were pointing out that there's just no reason for the Department of Education to approve something that's that ambiguous. The ESSA plan says that we truly want to understand where achievement is and where improvement needs to happen, and Tennessee stepped up on that, and we said, wow, do you have to be so harsh, A through F? We're going to really label schools with a C grading. And here we have other states that say, well, this school might need targeted support, and this other school, which would be deficient of targeted support, additional targeted support. And so the language of A through F and things that we have been told by the Department of Education or even by the legislature and things of that nature, we do have local control. But in the ESSA plan, it is the state who is responsible for doing that in the right way. I understand that they want good accountability. I don't understand when they don't take advantage of the freedom that the ESSA legislation allows us to have. So there's one example. As we continue to interact with our legislators, I raise that to the board's attention.
As I read ESSA, they required 3 levels for reveal for parents, but Tennessee chose the same letters as our grading system basically do that. That was not required of ESSA. No. That's a Tennessee plan. And also Tennessee will have targeted support. If you're down in the D and F, there's another level there, then they start breaking that down into type of supports. So there is another level even in Tennessee for that. I did hear today somebody that would know that in the United States, the number of tests and the number of grades that are being covered, Utah and Tennessee lead the pack in the total number of tests being given, because so many grades over so many different subject areas. So we have an honor, I guess.
Well, we sure need to test a lot less, get our instruction time back. Anything else, Mr. Holliday? Yes, Mr. Sanford.
Would you like another computer system that had woes today? The IRS filing system, and they have extended the deadline till tomorrow.
Must be the same hackers.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, there's more.
Another update. I just got a text message from Representative Brian Terry, so shout out to him. Thank you, Dr. Terry, for keeping us posted. This is what he said. He said, we put 2 amendments on a bill, and they've sent it back to committee. One requires paper testing until they can prove capable, and the other one will hold teachers harmless. They're going to meet to discuss the problems and re-amend the bill in committee.
Last time when they held teachers harmless, they did do the same for schools and districts. That one concerns me a little bit too.
We'll make sure that gets mentioned.
Where is this paper material? Last time we went through that was a nightmare.
Mr. Zago can sure vouch for that.
Yes, Mr. Zago.
Currently, the average elementary school gets 27 cases of paper materials to do the paper pencil, and 27 cases are this large. They're about 60, 75 pounds a case. I know because it filled the entire bed of my pickup truck, carry it to one of the schools. That's testing 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, which is one of our average high schools, about 420 students. If we go to testing a high school, such as Blackman, where you guys are testing, what, 1,700 possibly students, we're talking a half of a tractor-trailer load of paper materials. We received that from Questar on a tractor-trailer just for our elementary schools. It took us 3 days for 7 people to sort that material because each school's material was on various pallets, not numbered boxes, and we did not know what were in the boxes. We only knew that we had 27 boxes going to this school. So if we do that for the whole system, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Dr. Terry said the committee's going to reconvene tomorrow.
It'd be nice if they had that material right there. I mean, I don't know where those paper testing materials are at the present time, but they're not in Rutherford County. Well, we can just forget that. That's not going to happen. Okay. Anything else? Mr. Holliday, you okay? All right. General discussion. I've got 3 things here, and 2 of them are real quick. You have got your discipline. Please be sure and have read that by Thursday night, and all of you always do. So, okay, just thought I'd mention it. Also, notice that, and please get this out. If you've got this right here, get this out and put it on your desk, if you would, real quick. On the second page, and this is a revised meeting schedule. On the second page are the high school graduation dates. So, and I'll just call your attention to Blackman High School. It's the 19th at Murphy Center, and I guarantee you they will have enough diplomas this year. I'm sure they have enough. Moving on. I just want to give you a shot. That's all. That's okay. Absolutely, I'm sure, and the most exciting graduates, I'm certain. One other thing on, I did my best here. I hope y'all will realize that. I got home the other night and I got to looking at dates and times and who kind of wanted to invite to the school safety and security night and so forth, and ran into almost immediate problems with that. 2 members of one of the committees asked me to don't do it yet. We want to have a time to meet before we actually have this meeting. And then our attorney is unable to be there on the 26th. The health and ed people were not available to be there on the 24th. And so anyway, I think this is unbelievable. I asked Rhonda Allen to help me out with some dates where she thought the committees would be available. I did talk with the sheriff. He said he would come anytime or send somebody. And that date is May 7th. And believe it or not, that's about the only date that they are available. They have budget from May 14th, right on almost, well, really past our meeting on the 22nd. It's just a very, very busy time of year. So May 7th. Now, I'd like to take some credit for this, but I can't. This was Rhonda Allen's idea. I talked to her a little bit. We had such limited dates, and she suggested that I find out if we could have a meeting and then adjourn that meeting and go into executive session. And here's the key. I know we can do that, but here's the key. Can the sheriff stay? And can the county commissioners stay? And Mr. Reed has been kind enough to research that. The answer is yes, and he's going to tell you why. Well, that's it. He's not even going to tell you that. The answer is yes. Can city police and chief police stay?
Mr. Chairman, did you say May the 7th?
I knew we were going to have a problem. I knew it when I said it, yes.
Never mind, I'm looking at the
wrong date? Yes.
Under the Safe Schools Act, we can have a closed meeting. We do have to advertise the meeting and let everyone know we're meeting on the security matter. So that night, what we're talking about doing, we'll have a public forum, right, and get into some general details with respect to the safety program in our schools. That portion of the meeting is going to be open for all members of the public to come. You can receive comments from members of the public who want to come and have ideas or suggestions for security in schools. We'll have that chance. Following that meeting, we'll go into executive session, and that will be when we get into some of the details with respect to the school-specific details with respect to how we'll address incidents should we have those. And that portion of the meeting can be closed. And we have the Sheriff's Office and other law enforcement agencies participate in the closed portion of the meeting. Obviously, we'll be getting into some details there that we don't want possible perpetrators to hear about, and get into very specific, building-specific plans to deal with security issues should they arise.
Questions for Mr. Reed on the executive session, which will be, I guess 15 minutes after our regular meeting closes, and we can really get into the details of our plans that are in, as he just said, that are in force as of now.
I would only point out that we have traditionally scheduled a meeting that we invited the public to at an hour later than our typical 5 o'clock to allow working parents to be able to be present. With a meeting following, it's a challenging schedule.
I think we said 5:30, didn't we? Yeah, let's go with that. If we're going to have an executive session after, I think we'll be all right there. And I have no idea whether 500 people will come or one. I don't know. But it was, I thought Rhonda Allen's suggestion was an excellent one. And she pointed out, well, all the stakeholders, all the interested parties in the county will already be there in your building. And they may not be able to come back on a second night. So that seemed to make sense to me, and so that's what we did. But the only person that knows the date other than Rhonda Allen is y'all. So if there's a problem with May 7th at 5:30, this will be a great time, and I don't know when we'll move it to, but we'll search. We'll do something different.
Is the location set?
It's right here.
Is this facility large enough to accommodate that many interested people?
Have as much idea as you do. Don't know. I don't know where else we would go, but we have the facilities here, the microphones and the desk. I guess I'll have to share it, but I don't expect to say much. I'm hoping the general public and the other community leaders will be saying something.
I think that both parking and the opportunity to speak could be better at one of our auditoriums, but that's just a personal thought. If we don't think there'll be that much turnout, we could almost fill the center section just with these stakeholders, county commission and representatives from the SROs and such.
Okay, let me think about it a little bit. Yeah, I think Dr. Justice already volunteered Blackman High School. I think she did that. Did you do that? Does it include donuts and?
A couple of places available in the school, and because they just canceled, so.
All right, let me talk to you after this meeting is over, and we'll see. It's possible we may want to move from here. I sure would feel badly if we had a whole bunch of people come in and there was no place to sit for that to happen. So, anything else? I can let you know about the date on Thursday, or rather, the location on Thursday. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Any other comments on the general discussion?
Mr. Chairman, we also have an envelope. Is there any explanation on this smaller envelope?
A lady approached several of you the other night about graduation. That's just facts related to that graduation.
You know about this, Director? I do. Okay, I'll come check with you because I don't have any idea about it.
Anything else, Board? Dr. Justice, thank you very much. Thank you all for being here with her. If there's nothing else, we've got budget tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, and reminding you that Thursday is 4:30, isn't it? If there's nothing else, thank you so much for your input and comments. We're adjourned.